How to start a storage business with no money. I've done it a couple of times. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. All right. So starting a storage business with zero money is actually, it's going to be pretty tight, but you can do it with very, very minimal money. Or if you have a partner that can help float some of it in advance, you can do it. You can do it very, very safely. And a lot of times you can walk into a lot of equity. I've actually done this. So the first thing is going to be how you do your contract. Now, I am not an attorney. I am not giving legal advice. However, I am going to tell you that if you are doing your own work, you can write your own contracts. And there's a tremendous number of boilerplates and ChatGPT and all that. And I'm not saying they're right, but you can also find people who can mentor or coach you up to figure out the right way to write contracts. Where you traditionally make money, this is going to sound crazy, is in how you write your contracts and when you buy a property. You make money when you buy the property, not when you sell it. It sounds counterintuitive, but that's the way it works. So in the storage areas, I have my storage, or the facilities I have are in B markets. That means that they're not the huge A big municipalities. They're in smaller markets, but they had great stories. So one happens to be in the oil and gas producing capital of one of the parts of the country. Another one is right outside of a military base. I looked at these areas and I'm like, wow, I like these areas. And then I did an analysis. How many storage facilities are currently there? And in that storage, okay, of how many are there? Great. How many are occupied? I pretended I was somebody looking to rent a unit. How many were at full occupancy? What were they getting per square foot? Basic costs, all those things, just to start to understand what that looked like. It took a lot of work, but it didn't take any money. And then once I realized that, I plotted them all out on a map, and I started to realize, wow, there's a couple of gaps in a few different areas. Once I knew those gaps, then I was able to go out and identify the properties. And I started looking at the properties, what was currently for sale, that could fit the zoning for storage, or had the potential to have zoning adjusted for storage. That's the important part, is that you have to make sure you have the right pieces with it. But once you do that, then you can go and you can take the property down. Now, when you do the properties, I always put for, Joe Blow, me, or whatever, or assigned. Or assigned is traditional in a lot of corporate real estate contracts that says, I'm going to buy it in my name, or I'm going to sign this contract, this piece of paper, into somebody else's name or another company's name, just because I hadn't created the companies for those the LLCs where I would hold those properties. So by having or assigned, what it does is now you're creating value just in this piece of paper, this document. Once you control this piece of property, and if you can go through and it says, all right, I'm going to buy this property for whatever, X. Now, within the parameters then, usually there's going to be extensions within the contract. So the extensions can come for time frame. Maybe I need additional timing for financing. So I say, and you have another 120 days or 60 days or 30 days in a contract. It's going to depend on what you can negotiate. I also put it in there that I want to make sure that I can do a survey, that I can do any environmental studies, and that I can make sure I can get my potential zoning adjusted if needed. And I will add extensions within that process. So I may put a contract in that says I'm going to buy this at this price in 90 days, and I will give you this refundable earnest money. So this is the first money I've put into this project so far. Maybe it's $10,000 for $1 million piece of property, and it's going to let me hold on to it for 90 days, and I have the right to pull out of it any time, and I get my $10,000 back. Now, you may say I want additional extensions after the fact, and those extensions can be for perhaps an appraisal. Or we'll hold off on the appraisal. Let's say that we need to change the zoning from agriculture to industrial. or light industrial. Or we need to see where the utilities are, and we need to have some things drawn to make sure that we can get whatever utilities we're going to need there appropriately. Or we need to have a survey done. And you can add those pieces in there and say, and we need contingent upon getting these things done, and then you can negotiate back and forth with your contract. As you negotiate with that contract, you may say, yeah, okay, I'll let the $10,000 money go hard. That means that it's no longer refundable. It means it's yours, but I want another 90 days. So it means that you've got a pretty good idea that things are going to go your way, and you're willing to gamble that $10,000. Now, this is the first committed money you've put in that is going to come back, or that you're not going to get back. But once you get through those other pieces, those quote unquote entitlements, I've gone through and taken agricultural land and gone through and gotten the entitlements done to where it got approved by the city and the municipality, the city, the county, all that. And we had everything drawn out, and they zoned it to a different zoning. Just by changing the zoning, the property was suddenly worth a lot more because it's no longer agricultural. I went through the work. It didn't cost me anything except my time. Maybe it cost a little bit for an appraisal or a study or some of those other pieces, but that helps. Now, the other thing is that you can do you can actually get an understanding of how much is it going to cost to do the actual development. That's what I would be doing right away in the first 90 days. How much is it going to cost for concrete and grading and for your buildings and to build it all out, and the electricity and everything that's going to be there. And you can do, again, all of this work for virtually no money. You can get it all bid out in advance. And you can even get a certified Alta survey drawn, and they'll put your facility and lay out your entire facility as if it was built on there. And then you can go through and build something called a pro forma. A pro forma is a future projections of what it's going to cost to, what kind of revenue you can get from it based on current market conditions, as well as what you believe your expenses are going to be based on your business plan. And we talk a lot about how to do business plans and do all this at aspiringsolopreneur.com. And then when you have all of this together, you can then give that to an appraiser. You're going to pay for it. But the appraiser says, okay, yeah, the piece of ground is $1 million. You're looking at putting $1.5 million in improvements on it, and you're going to need another $500,000 to fill it up. So your total costs are going to be $3 million to get to that point. But when you have it filled up, according to the pro forma and what our market says, the property is actually worth $4 million or $5 million. Well, what that means is that you have an appraisal, a certified appraisal, based on true documents that you've created that have been generated and vetted by other people, that says, hey, my property is going to be worth $3 or $4 million when I'm done. And I have the ability, I have this piece of paper here that says I control the piece of property. So I can put this all together. And basically what you're saying is that here's $1 million to $2 million in equity, the net over and above once all this happens. And I'll run this and coordinate all this. So you can do it with virtually no money. And the banks used to let you get away with doing that just on the appraisal, to where literally I walked into, just by the stroke of a pen, for $20,000 in upfront costs, was able to walk into multi-million dollars in equity in places. They've gotten a little uncomfortable with that, and there's certain parameters where you have to have at least some money in the game. But it doesn't mean that you can't find an investor, or you can't find a partner or somebody else with that. If you say, I have this study that says this market needs a facility, I currently control, by this piece of paper, this piece of property that I've been able to improve by having the drawings done. I know exactly how much it's going to have the building costs, and we've been able to change the zoning. Great, across the board. Those all work really well. And this appraisal says that it's worth an extra $2 million. I'm looking for a partner or somebody else out there. When you do that, your likelihood of finding somebody is going to go up exponentially because you've done all the hard work. So it's not 100% with no money, but it's pretty damn close. So Ideally, you guys found some value with this. If you have questions, you're welcome to reach out at aspiringsolopreneur.com. And we do have full courses that help people go through and learn how to do all of this stuff, step by step by step. So please subscribe, check out some of the other videos. Keep smiling.